Hey guys, it's Alex from Disciples with Nicholas Burgess following your top 8
Yeah, top 8.
Brotherhood deck profile with what deck?
Drytron.
Oh my god, he's been trolling me and telling me this deck's good for like months, and I still don't believe him, but we'll play it at some point. But yeah, good weekend.
Yeah, really good.
Anything you want to say before?
Just like shout out to Mike for running such a good event, because like good prizing and like every round was just one after the other.
Yeah, it's really good.
Really good.
It's probably the best run event I've been to in a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's get into it. Why not?
Yeah, so I played Drytron. I've been playing this deck for like a really long while. So obviously with Ava being banned, the way the deck functions is a lot different. But I was playing this version last format even when we had Ava, because I just think facilitating Scythe and protecting Scythe is just a better win condition, basically.
I agree.
And so the reason why I like this deck is because I think it has the best follow-up in the game, because like you basically have 4 mini Dragon Rulers every turn. So yeah. Start off with like Drytron ratios, 3 Alpha, this is standard.
The best one.
And 3 Zeta, also standard. 3 Gamma, slightly becoming more standard to play 3 of this now. You just want to draw names, basically. And then 3 Delta, as I said, you just want to draw names. Any like physical machine that you draw is an extender, because you can just ritual an extra time by summoning Idleton to have that ritual spell. So yeah. And then more cards that say get to Drytron. So 3 Emergency, 3 Nova, and then 1 of the field spell, Fafnir, and 1 Terraforming.
That's just because you just don't really want to like draw too many of it, right? Like too many copies of Nova.
So you have like, so this is like 5 copies of Nova, which is like the most you'd want. This doubles up as a go second card because of other cards that I'm playing, and then it gives you 20 Drytrons in total in the main, and the maths that says like 97% of the time you'll draw 1, and like above 80% you'll draw 2. So
which is what you want, right?
Which is what you want.
You want to see 2 Drytrons.
You want to see 2. You can play with 1 in this deck as well. You can at least scythe your opponent with 1. The more you draw, the more different names you draw, the more hand traps you play through. Then on to like the ritual cards. So 1 ritual spell, 1 Draconids, 1 Idleton. So obviously Benten's here, but we'll talk about these ones to start with, because so these ones are like pseudo bricks in the sense that they don't contribute to your combo. They're like engine requirements, like you have to play this to be able to do things. Same with this one. This one's not used in your combo, the standard end board, but he's there because he's a searchable machine off of Diviner, which is relevant for ritual summoning. He also helps you play through Droll, because it's one of the only rituals you can access from New Beta from the extra deck. But they're like pseudo bricks, but they all have individual hands where if you happen to draw them, they're randomly just really good that you drew them. Like it just, you randomly beat hand traps because you happen to open like one of these. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Then Benten.
Weird.
3 Diviner and 1 Prep. So this essentially is like 5 copies of Benten. So the reason why 1, which seems a bit weird, is because there's only 2 targets, so we're not playing any other ritual monsters, no Megaliths. Your natural combo will take both targets for this out of the deck as well. So you want your grind game, you want every card to be live, so you don't want more. And 5 gives you 50% chance of seeing a Benten in your opening hand going first, which means that you have like a 50% chance to just naturally beat Ash on Alpha, which is more chance than they have of seeing Ash in the first place. So it just really helps with that. And like this is an easy side out. 1 Diviner can also be an easy side out. But Diviner's like just really good going second as well, because it can send Entis, so it just makes playing
base interrupts as well.
Like it's just crazy for that.
Like anytime you summon that, I'm like, shit,
especially when you have like Diviner droplets. Like, it's
exactly.
Then we're playing Fusion Destiny, so this is obviously a Scythe deck, so this is our way of popping Scythe is DPE. These are obviously bricks. Those are the hard bricks of the deck, but like you accommodate them because DP is just so insane. This card is just ridiculous. Like anytime you draw this in your opening hand, you're like, this is fine. This is like drawing. It's like replaces 2 Drytrons because it saves you making a link 2. So like you're happy. This is kind of like extra Drytrons in a way. And like there are so many hands where you just play through random hand traps because you drew this. And then also like because of we're playing Mystic Mine. So it's like sometimes it's actually relevant to just like make DP and mine yourself, or like just play mind control with DP, like controlling the board. Sometimes this deck will just like, if your opponent hand traps you enough, the deck will just become DP control, which is like good enough. Especially when you've got Drytrons that come back on the following turn.
Exactly. Like, the follow-up is just insane because of that.
The 1 Scythe, so this is the win con, obviously needs to go, but
And you can search off Benten.
Yeah. So like
bonus
you have
effects,
extra synergy in this deck where you don't have to resolve Dagda. If you don't think you have enough link fodder for like both Dagda Verte through hand traps, you can like just Benten search this and then get to Scythe, get to DP, and then just still Scythe your opponent when they really don't expect it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the main deck is just go second cards essentially. So one Lancia. The format isn't like, it's not good enough that you'd play 3 because there are lots of decks where this just doesn't do anything. But you want 1 for the accessibility through Dagda and Benten. Your natural turn 1 combo will search this through Benten so that you protect your Scythe from Called by Cosmic. So you don't have to waste your spell trap negate that you end on for that. So you're just like doubly protected. But yeah, this is really, really clutch, and you just side out in the matchups where it's terrible, right? So, 3 droplets. I think this is just a must in Drytron right now. Like even if you're playing like in matchups where they end on like Herald of Arclight and stuff, this card is still bonkers because if this is in combination with like Nova or Diviner, you just break boards for free. Like the Diviner will Entis and force another negate, and then the Nova is going to bait a negate anyway because it can beat Herald by attacking. So yeah, even though like basically because you play a lot of spells, this card is actually just crazy even under Herald. So, and obviously this card synergizes sending Drytrons to the grave. You just don't really care
because it's just free resources.
Yeah,
right?
as long as you're not like, the only time you get punished is if like you need one particular one to resolve and you have D Crow or something random or Bell. But like you can just try and think about that in advance. And then 2 copies of Mystic Mine. So this is 3 with the terraforming, and the last card in the Lancia gives you 8 go second cards in the main total. Which obviously most decks are playing way more because they're playing hand traps, but these are all such high impact cards that drawing 1 is
you can get away with just 1 of them, right? Whereas like every other one you need like 2 hand traps, 3 hand traps. Whereas this is like 1 Mystic Mine in a playable hand will do the like drop it in a playable hand.
This will force, like worst case scenario, this card forces a negate in like against like a Brave board. But like, and then best case scenario, this will stick, and then you get the choice of either leaving them under mine for several turns, or the aim is never deck out because most of the time your opponent's deck is just bigger than yours this format because this is a 40 card deck. So the aim is never deck out. But you can either Zeus under mine, like that standard strategy of just clears the mine at the same time, wipes everything, and you can't get hand trapped on the Zeus. And then another option is to just make Verte, or if you draw Fusion Destiny, and then just slowly pop away resources under mine, and your opponent can't do anything about it.
No, I like that. I like that second one a lot more.
Yeah, because eventually you'll just draw enough Drytrons, draw enough gas, and even if you're like end phase discarding under mine, you just don't care because you're just sending Drytrons
anyway, right?
Like, eventually you'll just draw enough resources that you can play through like 4 hand traps or something dumb. So, and then the last card is Called By. I was
thinking what this was in my head. I was like, it could be set rotation, it could be Called By. Like.
We were playing 3 Fusion Destiny, obviously last format, but we had to replace it. So we're playing 1 Called By. This basically counts as a go second card this format because it helps you
Scythe,
beat Scythe.
Hand traps, like that's a lot that's for.
Like going first is obviously really good, but going second, like against most matchups, worst case scenario is just going to bait a negate that's protecting their Scythe. And because this deck, like you may think, oh, then you're getting Scythed, you're losing, but you have Draconids under Scythe. So a lot of the time, you can happily let them Scythe you, and just the scary part of the board is the negates, not the Scythe. And then you can Draconids punch their whole board, and then it comes down to who has more of a grind game.
And Draconids is an interrupt as well.
Draconids is an interrupt as well. And he's just 4K, so like,
just
it's just so hard
big,
to beat. Extra deck, so one Link Rebo. This is standard, but in theory in this deck you could actually play Anima because the down arrow doesn't matter with the links that you play. But I like this as a way to be an interrupt in your opponent's turn essentially. Like any extra Drytron you leave on board with your combo is just a Link Rebo negate, which protects your weenie interrupts.
The little links.
Dagda, so this is part of the combo. So you'll go into this, you'll trigger it by activating the ritual spell to get your Scythe, and then you'll typically link this off because it's fairy into Mirage Lights. So this is part of your standard end board. So you want to end on this Scythe, DPE, and something else that we'll get to in a minute. So this protects your Scythe from spell traps basically, and this card floats. This card's just crazy. Like even when you get like your board loses to droplet. So even when you get dropleted, though you usually win unless your opponent kills you that turn, you're probably winning because this adds back You have a grave
guys,
full of
grave
Drytrons.
Drytron.
You have 2 draws off Dasher Celestial as well. You have just so much follow-up that's just nuts.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Verte, so this is part of the end board.
Yep, weird.
Then Unicorn access code, so these are just like utility.
Go second kill.
Yeah. It just makes the game easy,
Yes,
so you don't have to grind it out, because this plus like Draconids is 9/9/3, which is just like you're killing through a dropsies as well against tank kids, so like which is nice. And sometimes it's awkward to out certain cards, so Unicorn comes up for that. 2 with this guy, new beta.
Definitely need 2.
Yeah, you definitely need 2. There is even like potential for 3 of this card sometimes. So if your hand is just Alpha Zeta and like 3 blanks, and no other engine, then your natural combo goes through 2 of this.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, mad. Didn't know that.
But typically, if you have 3rd Drytron or Fairy engine,
you
don't need to use the second one. So, but the second one will still come up on your turn
Second
3
turn after,
because you'll like link climb this plus Idaton to link climb into like Unicorn access code. It's just nuts. Like it just feels like you're activating Firewall effect, which is really bonkers. The Lyrilusk, so this is kind of like the flex spot, but there are decks that end on either links or synchros, and if they choose not to play around Lightning Storm and just put all their guys in attack, you have no way, if you're just playing this as your only Exceed, you have no way to like Zeus your opponent.
Yeah.
And so you need this for that, basically. It's just to facilitate Zeus. So then the Zeus, we don't play down a magician in this deck, so there's no space for it really. You could play it, but we're typically never ending on this as an interrupt. You just want to wipe the board, and then you use it as, because it's machine, you use it as ritual fodder, and then that will give you enough like link fodder to still dag the DPE, and then you just scythe them instead of Zeusing them on their turn, which is just better. Then sort of like the interesting part of the deck is Zolkin and Crystal Wing. So your natural combo will use Diviner, send Arclight, it will be level 6 tuner, and then you'll do that plus 1 of the level 6 fairies, so Benten or Idaton, into this. If it's Idaton grabs back the ritual spell, which gives you a guaranteed set for this, and then you do all of that before using Drytron Gamma, which means that you get a monster negate before using Drytron Gamma, which means you play around Nib. And in that scenario, even if they nib on the Zolkin, you still get to Dagda, and then you trigger the Dagda and then link the Dagda into Verte, so you still scythe your opponent, even through nib, which is why I like this combo.
I like it as well. It's unique.
Arclight, so this and Entis are the Diviner targets. Making this can actually come up sometimes. So if they hand trap your Diviner and you can't do the Zolkin line, you can make this and then still make Verte, use Benten to search Scythe, and then obviously your materials from DPE will get banished, but like you'll scythe them with an Omni Negate, which is usually game. And this card just adds follow-up because you're a ritual deck.
Weird.
And then DPE, we talked about him enough, so yeah, here he is. This card's just like nuts, this format. Like you win games off of DPE control, like sometimes.
Like it's nothing, right? Like it's crazy.
Side deck. So a recent addition is Natasha, and I'm really glad I put this in. Anytime I sit down and my opponent's deck is either like a grindy deck or it's 60 cards, I think that I'm probably going to go to time, just because the length that the combos take, or the length that the grind game takes. And so, because your natural combo pays 2k for Verte, you are not well positioned in time. And so this gives you a card that you can side in and you just gain life and win in time. And there are certain matchups where you're grinding where the grave effect like comes up to take like against Eldritch and stuff, like, or Striker Links, those kinds of.
So I remember we were talking about the time aspect of this, and you wanted a way, because was it the OTS Championship you lost the game in time? And you were like, oh, I want a way to beat it, and this just randomly makes so much sense. Like,
and there's also like a combo where you can turn 1, make access code, use this to target the access code, so you'll gain 2650, and then you'll pay for Verte. So you'll still be up on life after paying for Verte and still scythe them. And so like, that can come up, which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. 3 tactics. These come in anytime you're going first. Everybody's playing tons of hand traps, especially monster hand traps, because they're all tuners. So like people are playing calc decks. So this comes up anytime you're going first. And against prank kids, you started going second as well, because like you get a guaranteed trigger against that deck, which is really good.
Do you start going second versus like Sword Soul as well? Or?
No, because it doesn't out Chao Feng, which is like the main enemy.
That's the issue one,
that's the issue one. So like. You want to just play cards that beat that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which, speaking of, so we play 3 Dark Ruler. A lot of decks aren't playing this format, playing this card this format, which makes sense because when you get scythed, what is this doing? But as I said, because you've got Draconids under scythe,
Yeah.
You want to just deal with the negates and punch their board.
Yeah.
And then against, as we said, Sword Soul, this outs Chuffing, so, which is what you need to side for in that matchup. And then 2 Chalice. It was 3, but I had to cut something for the Natasha. But this is just more cards
More
that beat
droplets,
Scythe,
right?
more
Yeah.
cards that beat Chao Feng, just more cards that deal with problems.
Yeah, makes sense.
You can see we're not playing hand traps in this deck because I think hand traps in Drytron just doesn't work.
No,
Like you want
agree.
your hand to be engine plus like broken spells that are powerful by themselves. So we're just trying to get a critical mass
Like,
of these spells.
like going second, you're just trying to draw like 2 or 3 of these
Yeah,
cards plus like 3
so
engine
like
cards. Like.
most people's decks going second, you'll try and aim for like 20 hand traps or something. And so this deck going second, I'd go for 12 go second cards post side, which is not many, but when they're high impact, it's enough.
You just need to draw at least 1, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. Like.
3 Cosmic, it overlaps between beating Scythe against combo and beating Backrow decks, so it seems like a standard choice this format. And then 3 copies of Lightning Storm. In theory, you could play Twin because Prank Kids and other decks that have main phase only effects. But I really like this card. I really like the versatility. And against like decks like Flunderies, just clearing the barrier statue, which is the problem card in that matchup. So you just need cards that beat that. And like random matchups like Tri Brigade, where they end on Apollo for like 3 or 4. So you need to be able to just clear that.
Yeah. Anything else? The Doctor.
Shout outs once again to Mike at Brotherhood, Disciples for putting this on their channel, Betty behind the camera.
Oh, dying. Shout out to Alfio as well for trekking everywhere. But yeah.